When Chaos Ruler was banned, many people believed that Spright Synchro disappeared along with it, and for the most part they were right. The deck will never again be played in the same way in which it once was. However, that doesn't mean that it's gone. Far from it. In fact, this list, suggested by a member of our Discord, has basically filled in the void of the Chaos Ruler has left with many powerful new tools, including but not limited to the new Terror Top, getting us access to Cherubini and the Adventure Engine. The Adventure Engine capable of putting up an Omni Negate either pre or mid combo, or even just for our end board, having an additional Omni there. Still able to go into absolutely insane boards, having so many different tools that we can play around various different board states with, and in general the deck is just phenomenal. Everything about it I'm an absolutely huge fan of, so we're going to be going through a few replays today. Then at the end we're going to be going through a detailed deck profile, so anyone who's not familiar with Spright Synchro or how it works, stick around, watch it till the end to sort of get an idea for it. But most importantly, make sure you actually watch the replays, because there's going to be a lot of lines and combos and freestyle that you're going to see in there that maybe you otherwise wouldn't have expected or sort of wanted to see when it comes to Spright Synchro and how this deck plays. So if you're interested in this or anything else, of course, that we do here, you can subscribe to catch more as we put it up every single day. Like the video if you actually enjoyed watching, and let's just get into replay number 1. Alright, getting into game 1 here, this is a pretty insane hand. This is pretty much the best that you're going to see this deck perform. We've got everything here. We're going to start off with our Terror Top that's going to get us immediate access to our Taka Tomborg. However, unfortunately, our opponent hits us with Maxi. So we're left with the decision to make. We can either go full tilt, or we can just stop playing and hope our opponent can't OTK us. We decide we're just going to fucking send it. So we're going to use our Taka Tomborg and the Terror Top to go into the Cherubini. Then Cherubini has the ability to send any level 3 from deck to grave, so we're going to send the Enchantress to boost up its own attack points. They're going to hit us with a Havness here, which is interesting. Havness is totally fine. We do have a Saronir in hand. They mill out both Tillman Scream, Hollow, as well as Fairy Tale Snow. So I decide we're going to go Saronir here. I'm planning on giving my opponent a shitload of cards. So I'm going to get rid of that Snow before they can like summon it from grave to interrupt our plays mid-combo. Otherwise that could be a real problem. And this is just us sort of committing, right? We are at this stage, we're committed to full tilt. We're going to go for Branded Regain, activating it, going to go for tuning, grabbing Assault Synchron, going to mill an Assault Synchron as well, which actually does come up. We're going to use the Enchantress Engrave, banishing it to grab ourselves the right of Aramis here. Our Aramis here then will summon an Adventure token in our field, but it prevents us from using the effects of normal summon monsters this turn, grabbing, of course, Fateful Adventure 2. Assault Synchron coming out to the board. We're going to now use Fateful Adventure, grabbing us the Dracoback, which is why we did it in this order. We're also going to use now the Griffin Rider, discarding the Dracoback. That then will equip itself from the graveyard onto our Adventure token, and this is sort of the full Adventure setup. Now we have our Omni Negate on board. That means no Nibiru, no nothing is going to be stopping this end board. So now we're going to Synchro Summon into the Axel Synchro Stardust Dragon. Stardust Dragon then going to bring back from the graveyard one of the Assault Synchrons that we sent there earlier in the turn. Saronir going to send a Bestial monster from our deck to the graveyard. Going to send Lebellion because we might as well. Going to bring back an Assault Synchron and immediately Synchro Summon up into the level 10. So now we're going to bring out the Dispatter. Dispatter needs a Dragon non-tuner, which is why we opt to go for it here. We're going to go for Ringo Worm now as well, summoning out Ringo Worm, using it and the Cherubini to link summon into the Spright Elf. Elf then, of course, has the effect bring back a level 2 from the graveyard, which we're not using just yet. We're going to go for Ringo first. Ringo is going to summon out the token. Then we're going to go Spright Elf to bring back the Assault Synchron from our graveyard. Assault Synchron and the token go into none other than Cupid Pitch. Cupid Pitch is where the deck really gets silly. We're going to reduce this level down by 2. We're going to tribute off Dispatter for Lebellion, and the reason we do that is the Assault Synchron Engrave will actually banish itself to re-summon the Dispatter that we just tributed. Now we can use the Branded Regain. We're going to shuffle back Assault Synchron, draw a card, drawing in the Baldric, which is awesome. We're going to set Branded Beast from the deck before Synchro Summoning again into Chaos Angel. We did use only Light for this summon, so we're not immune to Battle Destruction, but we are unaffected by our opponent's card effects. Cupid Pitch then is going to search our deck for any monster that has 600 defense. We're going to banish the one of Havness from his field as well off the Chaos Angel, so Havness is gone, no longer a concern. We're going to inflict 1,000 points of damage, grabbing our Corridor. Corridor then bouncing back the banished Enchantress from the Banish Pile back into the deck, so we can use it again later, while tributing itself off for the Thunder Dragon Colossus. So this is pretty much our end board. What exactly this board is we've got the Floodgate, cannot add cards from deck to hand. Our opponent literally has 30 cards in hand. Sorry, 29 cards. So that's not really a concern. Thunder Dragon Colossus ain't doing much of anything. We have an Omni from our Adventure token. We have a Monster Negate / Destruction with the Beast. We have a Pop off of the Beast here as well. We have the Chaos Angel protecting all of our monsters from targeting with the Regained, which is going to be able to recycle our monsters. We have the Draco back, which protects our Adventure token. We're protected from targeting off the Elf. We got the Baldric as well for follow-up. So we have quite a lot, but in the face of 30 cards, it's tough to see us winning this game. It's tough. So we're going to need to play this one smart. They're going to go for Fenrir off the rip. Fenrir, whatever, it's fine. They're going to go Super Polymerization. Like, this hurts a lot. Super Poly, they're going to discard a card. They're going to fuse Colossus and Dispatter into Predaplant Dragus Stapelia. Stapelia then is a pretty annoying card. Of course, they're going to be able to negate one of our monsters, bringing out the Shiren then. Shiren then from the graveyard is going to activate. Branded Regained, however, can bring back the Dispatter. So Dispatter being brought back from the graveyard off Regained means that we didn't lose too much off of that Super Poly. We're also going to go for the Baldric to banish the Siren to stop the Fusion Summon, and it also gives us a target to tribute off of Branded Beast. They're going to go for the Primitive Planet, using Destrudo as well, bringing out Destrudo so they can go into Baron de Fleur. And there's a reason they do Baron here. They're going to now go for Forbidden Droplet. Forbidden Droplet is absolutely huge here, a huge problem at all. However, there's a really cool way to play around Droplet for anybody who doesn't know this. So they're going to drop 5 cards from their hand to the graveyard. That means they get the ability to negate and have 5 cards. We have 5 effect monsters on board. The thing about Droplet, though, is that if your opponent can't negate exactly how many cards they send, they don't get to negate anything. So we're going to use Branded Beast to tribute the Baldric to pop the Baron de Fleur. Now we only control 4 monsters that can be negated, therefore Droplet does nothing. You can't partially negate, you have to full send, so Droplet is absolutely useless here. Gonna go into Time Thief Reader. Reader is a bit of a problem. We were like literally 1 second on our timer here, which is why we decided we're not going to use anything else. We're just gonna like let him swing, let him do his damage and move on. We had like literally 1 second on our timer. So he's gonna go Reader into Zeus here. Again, Zeus I don't care about. We have the Chaos Angel. I don't have to care about Zeus in any way whatsoever. In the hour turn, we actually managed to survive the turn, which is very interesting. Drago back, we're going to target the Dragus Stapelia. He's going to use Zeus in response. We're going to use our Dispatter, of course, to bounce back our banished monster so that we can pop him. I don't care about negating him, because our Synchro monsters are unaffected by activated monster effects, meaning Dragus Stapelia does nothing. His Zeus gets popped and then does nothing. It clears the back row for us. He's got 3,500 life. It's going to grab a card back to hand, but that's a-okay. We have 2 monsters with 3,500 attack on board, and we're going to take a dub. Even though we gave him 30 cards, literally 30 cards, he couldn't beat us. If that's not the sign of a good deck, I don't know what is. Let's get into game 2. Alright, now let's get into some replays that aren't quite so high octane here. We're going to show off some of the more realistic plays you'll see on a more consistent basis. Playing against some sort of HG deck. A lot of HG floating around recently, and, you know, I don't blame them. It's a pretty fun deck. It can be somewhat limiting in terms of your ultimate combos, though, because a lot of them end on this card and pass, right? Which isn't that impressive. Of course, this monster is busted, don't get me wrong. This card is insane, and actually really does give us a lot of trouble in this game. Because our opponent tames the banish expertly, so he does. So I was really impressed by this guy. We're going to go Assault Synchron, we're going to summon it out to the field, we're going to summon out the Spright Jet then as well, grabbing Smashers. In my head, I was going to use Smashers to counter the Azurine, which doesn't end up working out. Now we're going to Synchro Summon off into Cupid Pitch. Now, I thought for sure he banishes here, but he holds it. He's going to keep it. We're going to summon the Ringo, we're going to summon out as well the Baldric. Now, banishing the Jet does turn our Spright Smashers off, which is where I messed up. They're going to go into Axel Synchro Stardust Dragon, and now in chain, Cupid Pitch activates, then Axel, and now he's going to chain his Azurine. And why is this so perfect in terms of its timing? Well, it comes down to an interaction that even I was unfamiliar with Cupid Pitch. So Axel does bring back its Assault Synchron, but Cupid Pitch does nothing, and the reason being, Cupid Pitch, the way its effect is worded. Now, so the reason that was such a perfect advantage is because of how Cupid Pitch works. This card, it deals 100 damage per level of the Synchro Summon monster. So because our Synchro Summon monster wasn't on the field for the damage to be inflicted, it doesn't get to search, because the search effect is contingent upon the damage being inflicted. So no damage means no search. So we got nothing. So we are going to now link summon into Spright Elf. We're going to try and salvage something from this board here. Spright Elf is going to bring back the Assault Synchro from the graveyard. We're going to use the Ring Worm as well from the grave. We're going to banish it to summon out a token. We're going to use these two now to go into the Gigantic Spright. Gigantic Spright having 3,200 attack points at the very least gives us out to this guy. Let's just summon out blue from the deck as well, which will let us search red. And now we're just putting out some Spright negates. We're going to swing in with the Spright, taking out, of course, the Azurine. We're going to deal 1,100 points of damage off of our blue. Now we're going to link summon into the Sprind. So Sprind then is going to be able to mill our Shinobi Necro, potentially for next turn. We're going to set 30 and we're going to pass. Now there's a specific reason we're using Sprind. It gives us a couple of different options when it comes to interruptions. We know he has this in hand, so he's going to use this. We're going to pop it while it's still in hand, and the reason is a lot of these Ace Jade monsters can react to your Ace Jades being destroyed on field, not in hand. So if we destroy it before it hits the field, it prevents him from getting the benefits of his Ace Jades engrave. So upon the popping of his Azurine, he's simply forced to pass turn because he's got nothing. Coming back to us, we've got the Caligo Clawcrow, which is a free summon. We're going to link 2 now into the Spright Elf. Spright Elf is going to be able to bring back another level 2, bringing back the blue from the graveyard. Blue then gets searching, grabbing a Spright Carrot. I'm looking at this board. I'm fairly confident this has to be lethal. Go Gigantic Spright for the red. And we're going to swing 16, 14, 1,200, 1,000, 1,100, and just shy of lethal. We unironically would have had lethal if I didn't summon out red. We would have had exact lethal. So by summoning red, I actually messed up, because this guy would have had 3,200 attack points, which would have been 400 more than the 16 plus 12 that we were currently on. We would have had exact lethal if we didn't summon red. So small misplay from me. But again, I'm fairly certain our opponent can't do much of anything here. Main phase 1, we're going to go Spright Elf to bring back the Spright Red. Again, he's got 3 cards in hand. We've got a spell in the gate. We've got a trap in the gate. We've got the IP Masquerena. We've got everything. He's got nothing, right? Easy game. Battle phase, 16 to the face. So that's the Spright plays and the Spright follow-up as well. Again, Spright is not a bad deck. You still get very consistent and easy access to a lot of negates through your carrot, through your red, through these other cards. So even just relying upon those in some games is definitely not a detriment, and we'll still win you games. Let's get in the replay 3. Alrighty, getting into our third and final replay of the video here. We're going to go main phase 1, Branded Regained off the rep, going into Cyber Skagit. This is a bit of a rough hand, of course. Having Corridor, no Sprites, no Tuners, no nothing in our hand is a little bit rough, but I'm going to show you that you can play even despite that. Our opponent's going to go for Maxi here, but I've got a few plays in main, so we're going to hit that with an Ash. We could have just sort of held off and did nothing, but you know what? That's really not my style. We got to make plays. So we got Lingerie on board. Cyber Skagit then's going to summon out a level 2 token to our field. We're going to go for Caligo Clawcrow, linking those two off into the Spright Elf. Spright Elf then's going to be able to bring back a tuner from the graveyard. We're going to bring back the Caligo Clawcrow. He actually hits the Clawcrow with the Baldrick, which is very interesting. But then we're going to shuffle this back off the Corridor to summon out the Corridor to go into the Thunder Dragon Colossus. So you know what? It's not much, but it's an untargetable Thunder Dragon Colossus responding to our opponent's Baldrick. So it was kind of nice that he did that for us. We were going to have to really sort of go out of our way if our opponent didn't make it that easy. They're just going to go battle phase. They're going to take out our Spright Elf here. We still have the Colossus, which is shutting down most of his hand. It's not that he hasn't bricked, right? I checked his deck list afterwards. He's got some pretty nuts cards in hand. He's got like Nadir Servant and everything, but he can't use them because of Colossus. We, however, decide we're going to play it risky. We're going to go Chaos Angel using the Colossus and the Light Token. We're going to go into Chaos Angel. We're going to banish the Baldrick. We're going to use the Faithful Adventure. We're going to grab the Draco back. That, unfortunately, is going to get hit with Ash Blossom. Now, that is a small pain, but it is what it is. There's a reason we're banishing the Baldrick as well here, because we're going to use the Chaos Angel to banish it. That means we can actually shuffle it back off of our Regain to draw an extra card. All we need is a card to discard for our Faithful Adventure to grab our Griffin Rider. Now we can summon out the Griffin Rider. Unfortunately, 500 damage short of lethal. 2,000, 2,035, bring up to 7,500 points of damage. Our opponent's got 500 life points left. The tiniest little bit of damage. Where's your Cupid Pitch Burn when you need it? So, in the main phase 1 for our opponent here, they're going to go Fallen of Albaz. They're going to try and fuse with one of our cards. We're, of course, going to Griffin negate that, right? There's the Nadir Servant that I was talking about. Our opponent, then, the final card in their hand is Triple Tactics Talent. They're going to use it to draw 2 Hail Mary on the Pot of Greed. They're going to activate Fusion Deployment. They're going to summon out the Cartesia directly from the deck to the field. Now, we're going to use Faithful Adventure, of course. They're going to go for Fusion Duplication copying Fusion Deployment Engrave to summon another copy of the Fallen of Albaz. Unfortunately, it's simply not going to be enough of them here. We're going to go Draco back. They're going to activate the Cartesia to Fusion Summon. They fuse into, I think it was Lebellion here. The last card in their hand was the Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, not giving them very much to work with, unfortunately. Into the battle phase, they can't do anything to our Adventure Token, so it is what it is. So yeah, our opponent made an interesting series of plays there, playing up against Branded, but the Chaos Angel is a very difficult one to get rid of here, especially for an opponent like this. They're going to Fusion Summon into their Grand Guignol. Of course, Grand Guignol is going to try and mill an additional card. They're going to send the Rindbrum to the graveyard. We're going to activate Fearful Adventure. They're going to go Rindbrum to bring back their Albaz, but I don't know if they've just forgotten. They don't have any cards to discard, so they can't actually use the effect of the Fallen of Albaz. We're going to go for the Griffin Rider here, dropping the red. We get to draw an additional card, giving him back his Rindbrum. We're going to chain the Griffin Rider, summon itself out to the field, and again, we have more than enough damage, more than enough gas and meat on board to take care of this. He's going to go Grand Guignol here, but I decide I'm going to let that happen because it doesn't matter what he summons. I can just Draco back, like, return it. It doesn't matter. So sending the Quem back in hand, battle phase, taking out the Albaz, and swinging for 35 for a game. And there you go. Yet another game. Really iffy, disappointing hand, but through some positive circumstances and perhaps poor plays from our opponent, we were able to pull that one back fairly handily. Let's get into the deck profile. Alrighty, so we're going to make this one fairly quick here because there's quite a lot to get through, but I mean most of it is fairly straightforward if you're at all familiar with Spright Synchro. The few changes that we're playing are things like the Magician Souls package. We're playing one copy of Magician Souls and one copy of the Illusion of Chaos to act as our dark targets for Chaos Space. So we have one Magician Souls, which can summon itself to the field and then can discard or send from field to graveyard spells or traps up to 2, and then you draw that many cards. Triple Max C, the one Caligo Clawcrow, which is a free summon as long as you control a dark monster. It's also searchable off a Cupid Pitch. Shinobi Necro, which if banished from the graveyard by a card effect, will special summon itself back to the field, which is excellent in combination with any of your Bestials. Spright Blue, again, Spright Blue, Jet Red, and Carrot can all special summon themselves if you control a level 2. Jet and Blue can also summon themselves if you control a rank 2, Carrot and Red if you control a link 2 as well. Blue on summon will search your deck for another Spright monster. Jet on summon will search your deck for a Spright spell or trap. Red, contribute another level, link, or rank 2 you control to negate a monster effect, and Carrot can do the same to negate a spell or a trap. Assault Synchron can special summon itself to your field at the cost of 700 life points, but while face up, it does lock you in the Synchro monsters only, and can also banish itself from the graveyard if you were to tribute a Dragon Synchro monster on your field to re-summon that tributed monster. Your Ringo Worm can special summon itself if you control a non-effect monster, notably your Adventure Token satisfies such criteria, so it is a free special summon from hand. It can also banish itself during the turn in which you Synchro summon to bring out a 100 Apples token, which is a level 2 light token that can be treated as both a tuner and a non-tuner for a Synchro summon. Very, very versatile card. This card is broken in this deck. Terror Top is what ties the whole deck together here ultimately. Terror Top special summoning itself, then on summon is going to search your deck for a Takatomborg. These two then are pretty awesome because Takatomborg then immediately special summons itself from the hand. So this summons itself if you control no monsters for free. This summons itself for free if you control a wind monster, allowing you instant access to your Cherubini. So these two cards are dope. We got Triple Ash Blossom. We got the One of Water Enchantress. This card can banish itself from the hand or a graveyard to search your deck for the Rite of Aramisir, which is your sort of key adventure starter card. As a level 3, it can be sent directly to the graveyard off of Cherubini's effect, which is why we're building the deck in the way we have. Cyber's Gadget on normal summon can summon a level 2 lower monster from your graveyard, which you will seldom do. It's primarily used for its second effect, where if it leaves the field, you can summon a Gadget token, which is a level 2 light token. Very versatile. Nemesis Corridor, mandatory part of your combo to summon a Colossus. It is searchable off of Cupid Pitch. You will return a banished monster from your banished pile back to your deck to special summon it, and then you can immediately tribute it to special summon your Thunder Dragon Colossus. We're running a Bestial package, 1 Magnomet, 3 Saronir, 1 Drissworm, 1 Baldrake, as well as 2 copies of Lebellion. All of the Bestials can special summon themselves from your hand by banishing a light or dark in either player's graveyard, and it's a quick effect if your opponent controls a monster. Magnomet on summon will activate to search your deck during the end phase for a dragon monster. Saronir, upon being sent to the graveyard, will send a Bestial monster or branded spell or trap to the graveyard. Drissworm, when sent from field to grave, will send an opponent's special summon monster from field to grave. And Baldrake, when your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck, you can tribute another light or dark monster you control to banish that monster. The Wandering Griffin Rider is part of your adventure engine. This card can be searched directly from the deck off of your Fateful Adventure. If you don't have any monsters, or if you control an adventure token, you can immediately special summon it from hand, and while it's on the field and you control an adventure token, you can activate it to shuffle it back into the deck to negate the activation of any card and destroy it. So it is essentially an Omni-Negate that is searchable and summonable and recyclable, which is very important. Lebellion can discard itself to grab any bestial monster from your deck to your hand. It can also special summon itself from hand or grave by tributing a level 6 or higher Dark Dragon monster, which you use to great effect in this game, a combination with Assault Synchron and your Bestial Disbatter. So that is a very useful effect. As a level 8, it's also key. Level 8 light monster specifically makes it excellent fodder for going into the likes of your Chaos Angel of full power. It can also, while face up on your field, can activate to play a branded continuous spell or trap card directly onto your field from the deck. Nibiru, just because. Illusion of Chaos searches your deck for your Magician Souls. It is also a Chaos-based target, which is nice. Lebellion is your light Chaos-based target. Foolish Burial, self-explanatory. Tuning searches your deck for Assault Synchron and mills a card. Chaos Base will discard either a light or dark monster from your hand. If you discard a dark, you grab Lebellion. If you discard a light, you grab the Illusion of Chaos. Rite of Aramis here will summon an adventure token onto your field, and then if possible, you can play a Fateful Adventure directly from your deck, face up into your spell and trap card zone. It also means, however, during the turn in which you activate this card, you can't activate the effect of any normal summoned monster, which doesn't matter to us at all. Dracoback, equipped only onto a monster that you control. You can only control one Dracoback, and you can use each of its effects once per turn. Number 1, if it's sent to the graveyard, you can equip it onto a non-effect monster that you control on the field, so you can recycle it very, very easily. And once per turn, you can target a card your opponent controls and bounce it back to hand. So Dracoback, excellent removal, and it's basically sort of like free cost for discard, which is important considering our next card's Fateful Adventure, which allows you to discard a card out of your hand to search your deck for any monster that lists a adventure token in its text. So you're going to use... it also, however, has the ability on the summoning of a monster while it's face up, you search your deck for a equip spell that mentions an adventure token. So the way it works usually is you have your Fateful Adventure, then you summon a monster. This activates the search for Dracoback. Then you activate Fateful Adventure's second effect to discard the Dracoback to search your deck for the Wandering Griffin Rider. That will trigger Dracoback Engraved to equip onto your adventure token. So that is how you're basically getting your Griffin search with 0 cost. Branded Regain has a few effects. Number 1, if a light or dark monster is banished while this is face up, you can shuffle that card back into the owner's deck to draw a card. If your opponent special summons, or summons a monster in general, while this card is in your field, you get to bring back any bestial monster directly from your graveyard. That includes, but is not limited to, your Disbatter. So do bear that in mind. This card is pretty fucking metal. It can also be played directly from your deck off of your Lebellion, or it can be played from your graveyard by Branded Beast. Called by and Crossout, pretty standard maxi counters. We have Spright Starter, summoning any Spright monster directly from the deck, but losing life points equal to its original attack, but it does lock you into level, rank, and link 2 monsters for the rest of the turn, so you don't want to use this card too lightly. Spright Smashers, so you can banish a Spright monster from your graveyard, then banish a level 2, rank 2, or link 2 that you control, as well as any card your opponent controls without targeting. And as a quick play spell, it is very useful removal. Infinite Impermanence, just because. And lastly, we've got Branded Beast, which is your ideal target off of Lebellion's effect. Basically, so long as you control a bestial monster, you contribute a dragon once per turn to target a card your opponent controls and destroy it. And during the end phase, you can target a branded continuous spell or trap in your graveyard and play it onto your field, i.e. your Branded Regained. So that was a very quick sort of run through of the deck. Getting into the extra deck, we have Colossus, which stops your opponent from searching their deck for cards. We have Herald, which is a generic level 4 Omni-Negate. We have Cupid Pitch, which is a key part of your combo. Again, I've covered this combo time and time again, and you saw it in the gameplay, so I'm not going to waste time explaining how Cupid Pitch works. Axel Synchro Stardust Dragon on summon will bring back a level 2 tuner from the graveyard. We have Baron, which is a once while face up Omni-Negate. Disbatter, once per turn, you can shuffle. When your opponent activates a monster effect, you can shuffle back a banished monster from either your banish pile or your opponent's. If you shuffle from yours, you pop the card. If you shuffle from your opponent's, you negate the card. You can also, during your turn, bring back a banished light or dark monster from either player's banish pile to your field. Chaos Angel will on summon Banish a card your opponent controls. It does not require a tuner so long as you're using only light and dark monsters, and gains additional effects based upon the types, attributes of the monsters used for its summon. If you use a light monster, all your synchro summon monsters, or synchro monsters, are unaffected by activated monster effects, and if you use a dark monster, all monsters you control full stop cannot be destroyed by battle. Gigantic Spright. You can actually use a Link 2 monster as material for this card summon, and if you do, its original attack points are doubled. So it can get quite big at 3200, but it can detach material to summon any level 2 monster directly from your deck to the field, but for the rest of that turn you are limited to level rank and Link 2 monsters only. Lingaribo is purely here for Cyber's Gadget to trigger its effect engrave. Chirubini can send a level 3 monster from your deck to the graveyard, i.e. your adventure token. Masquerena is a pretty generic Link monster. You can Link summon during your opponent's turn. We lack a very powerful generic Link target, so I would be tempted to cut the Herald in exchange for another Link target here, potentially either Nightmare Unicorn or Mekk-Knight Avramax, whichever you have access to. I would say both of those are very valid targets. We're just playing Goddess, which is not the most powerful Masquerena target. It's a little bit ineffective in some circumstances, so you do likely want to consider either a Unicorn or a Mekk-Knight. We're playing Spright Elf here, which once per turn can bring back a level 2 monster from your graveyard during either player's turn, and anything it points to is targeted from protection, or protected from targeting, targeted from protection. We have the Spright Sprint, which will send a level 2 monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if your opponent special summons a monster while it's face up, you can detach a material from an Exceed monster that you control to pop that monster. Pretty damn effective. And lastly is the Underworld Goddess, which can summon itself to the field by using one monster your opponent controls as well as the rest of the materials from your field. On summon, you can negate the effects of all monsters your opponent controls, and once per turn you can negate the activation of any card that would special summon a monster from the graveyard. So that has been a super quick run through of the deck. Again, it's quite a large deck, so I didn't want to spend too much time going over each individual card. And it's a fairly familiar concept in this channel. We've covered it once or twice before, and it applies most of the same sort of bits of logic that we've seen in the past. The newest parts are, of course, the Adventure Engine cards, which I will be covering more in the future, because Terror Top brings a whole new world of adventure to Master Duel, and that is entirely abusable. So, if you want to catch more on that or anything else really that we do on this channel, you can subscribe to catch videos as they come out every single day. You can like the video to help more people see this, and if you want to help support the channel, you can join us as a member as well. Whatever way you choose to show your support is entirely up to you, but all of it is appreciated, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.